Okay. Okay, super. So I'll just say again, hi everyone. So I'm here to present our workshop with ICCA, all about sharing and selling your art to new collectors. I'm Tammy, the co-founder of Partial, and I'm here with my colleague Mina, who will be introducing herself shortly. So a little bit about Partial. We're a platform that is committed to bringing beautiful, original, and affordable Canadian art direct from the artists that made it. So we're going to talk a bit about our mission to help get more of your art onto more walls and how to get started selling your art online if you're not familiar with Partial. Just really quickly, I wanted to acknowledge that Partial is founded on the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, Métis, and the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation in the city named Takaranto. I am currently in Grey County, which is part of the traditional territory of the Six Nations of the Grand River, Haudenosaunee, the Wendat, and the Métis people. Artists imagine and create work all across this country we call Canada, land that Indigenous peoples have stewarded for 15,000 years and continue to do so today. In addition to acknowledging them and all other nations, acknowledged and unacknowledged, recorded and unrecorded as past, present, and future caretakers of this land, we also have a duty to reconciliation. So us being a company that's founded by second generation settlers, who's committed to talking about art that's created across Canada, we have a commitment to decolonize past structures in the arts sector and celebrate Indigenous people's history and diversity while creating space for Indigenous creators to share their art and culture with us.
Alrighty, so this is our small but mighty team. My name is Mina. I'm the community engagement coordinator. So I'm here to help support you with any and all of your artist related needs and answer questions that you may have along the way. We have Tammy, the co-founder and CEO, who's here with us today. Chris, the co-founder and CTO, Travis, our senior advisor, Maggie, who does strategic partnerships, and Tejeri, who does digital marketing. Alrighty, so here are some of the many ways that artists can sell their work. It could be through gallery representation, personal network, word of mouth, art fairs. For example, we have TOAF coming up in July, as well as the Artist Project, which happened earlier this year. Artists can sell their work through their personal website, through like an e-commerce sort of setup. There's also social media, so Instagram, Facebook are all really popular platforms as well. And then we have other online art platforms such as Artfinder and Etsy.
So amongst all those different options, another platform that one could add to their wheelhouse as a practicing artist is, of course, Partial. So really quickly, I guess, like if we think about what words come to mind when we think about the fine art industry, usually some of the preconceived notions that one might have are that artwork is expensive, that it's exclusionary, it's not for your average person to engage in, and that art and artists and art collectors all look a certain way and are for a certain type of person. We didn't want Partial to reflect that kind of face of art. We feel that Canadian art or art across Canada is actually something that is very different from what people usually think about. Typically, what comes to mind when people think of Canadian art, traditionally speaking, are the Group of Seven is kind of a classic example of quote unquote Canadian art. So we wanted Partial to reflect the communities we lived in and the voices that make up the cultural landscape across this country. So what we've created, founded in 2016, is a platform that is first and foremost accessible. So that means accessible for anyone to browse the artwork, and for those who have the means, they can acquire artwork for under $100, under $500, under $5,000. And all of that is considered affordable art. It's also inclusive. We make it a priority to spotlight artists that are emerging, that come from a range of backgrounds. Jose Cifuentes is an example here, who's working out of 401 Richmond in Toronto. And we also celebrate new collectors. And it's really exciting when folks who typically have never bought original artwork before, or who never thought that they would be the type to be an art collector, can actually start building their own collection. And we think that's pretty fantastic when that happens. So we can take a quick look at the website. And I'll just share another tab here. Okay, so really quick, this is what the Partial website looks like right now. We have a homepage. It shows our weekly art edit. So this week we've been featuring Pride-related artwork and artists, some of the recently sold, and we continue to feature different artists and art pieces in this page here. We also have, of course, ways to browse by artwork, by artists, curated collections. We have a journal, which is our blog, where we can feature different artists here. And there is a lot more to discover, but I will flip back to our presentation here. And then we can talk about who Partial is for.
Alrighty, so this handy dandy table kind of lays out the different groups of people that Partial services, and the different groups of people who usually engage with artists. So first we have the art enthusiast, who is someone who loves to go to galleries, follows a number of artists, will go to shows regularly. This isn't someone who necessarily will buy or collect art, but is someone who is very much involved in that space, and supports in other ways. Next up, we have our seasoned and new collectors. So a new collector would be someone who's never bought art, but is ready to, and is just waiting for an opportunity to do so. And then our seasoned collectors are ones who have an art collection and are actively seeking to expand it. Then we have art schools, collectives, and organizations. So the ICCA will fall under this category, as well as like OCAD, to name a few. And then we have our trade access clients. So this could be anyone from like interior designers, film and TV set designers, real estate agents, stagers. Yeah.
Okay, so here are some benefits for artists, and whether you are looking to use Partial or foster your own career with different aspects, you can sort of think about these things when it comes to promoting yourself. So first of all, on Partial, there is a profile, and that is really important for artists, and that allows prospective art buyers or art collectors to get a snapshot of your art and your practice in one place. So that is why on Partial, we've decided to condense all these different aspects that typically come with a portfolio site or a in-person show, to put that all into one page, your CV, your story, your bio, and available work all on one place makes it really accessible for folks who are just browsing. Visibility is interesting. So visibility, of course, is how artists start to build their presence and their image as a practicing artist. So being on a platform like Partial allows folks who are looking to make a name for themselves and share with people the fact that they have actually maybe had an education in art, or who has done a lot of shows or created some installations. These are really important aspects that share what you might do for your art career. And of course, the dashboard, which is something unique to Partial, it actually gives up-to-date insights, including views, trends, and a pricing guide for pro member artists to be able to sort of measure where their work is in respect to other artists' artwork. As well, one of the key aspects of Partial is, of course, the marketplace, which offers a diverse offering by a range of artists, mediums, sizes, and prices. And it's also supported by the latest technology as well. So what that means is we've included different features that make it easier for folks to buy art online. And one of those things is the Wall Spacer app, which is an augmented reality feature on the platform that's really cool that we've launched, which allows people who are seeing your art on the screen as an image, they can actually render that through their smartphone on the wall so that they can actually get a better idea of whether they would be able to bring that piece into their space. We also have practical sales models and support. So going back to the whole value of accessibility on Partial, we built in some different things to make it easier for people to collect art. And one of those main things is a rental model. So what that rental model allows people to do is for them to see art online and then actually rent it for their home for a period of time, and also be able to give that revenue to artists. So that's really great. And then at the end of that period, folks are able to then choose to buy it or return the piece. So it really lowers the threshold for risk for a lot of new art buyers. As well, one of our mandates is to make sure we can give as much money as possible back to the artists for every sale or rental. So you'll find that on online platforms compared to maybe traditional gallery settings, the commission fee is a lot lower for those who are on an online platform like Partial. And as well, we're also, of course, very happy to be giving 1% of all sales and rentals to the ICCA. Okay, so how it works. A little sneak peek into how to set up a profile on Partial. This is, again, your sort of one-stop shop to highlight all aspects of your practice and tell your story as an artist. And we're going to log in quickly to take a look at what it looks like to be logged in to the dashboard side of things. Okay, so as an artist on Partial, you will have a dashboard that allows you to customize your story, your bio, be able to see how you're doing in terms of insights and views, and of course, be able to update your portfolio site here to add different artworks, mark them as available, sold, or rented, be able to set pricing and all that sort of thing. So here's an example of what a really good artwork page could look like. So here we have the opportunity to upload images of one's artwork. And, again, whether you use Partial or you're thinking about your own site, photography of the work is really important, and showing different angles here. So you'll see here's the front view of our art piece, and that is through Partial. You'll be able to render that on Wall Spacer. So that's why the first image is really important, that it's a cropped front view of the art piece. And it always helps for someone who's buying something online to see as many images as possible. I think we've all thought, we've all bought things online before. Usually the products that have the more information, it gives us the most confidence in knowing what we might receive when it arrives. And here, then we'll get into details. Of course, adding as much information as you can about an art piece is really, really helpful when you're trying to encourage a potential art buyer. So I'm going to tell folks where the piece has been hung, maybe write a little bit about how I came up with the concept, a bit about my practice. And here we have the opportunity to add tags as well, which obviously just helps with the search engine. And here for price, this is where it gets kind of interesting. It's always maybe challenging for artists who've never sold art before to think about what their work is worth and what they should price it at. So one of the things that we have here for pro member artists is this pricing guide. And I always add this disclaimer that For a pricing guide, so many different aspects come into consideration when one's pricing their artwork. So, obviously the cost of your materials, the stage of the career, your art career, whether it's been shown in a place that's high profile or not. All of these things can kind of come into play. But here's an example of how the pricing guide works, at least on Partial, to at least give some idea of where one might stand when it comes to comparing their work. So we have millions of data points on Partial from all the artwork that's added that gives a bit of context as to what an art piece that's similar to mine. So let's say that my art piece is 36 by 36 and it's an acrylic on wood panel and it's a painting. And based on just the artwork on Partial, this is the average price that is listed. Again, I would take all of this information with a grain of salt. Folks might be like, oh, do you know what? 36 by 36. To be honest, I think my piece is worth more like $750 and I want to see how that performs. Or someone might be like, 1825 is good to know that many pieces are priced at that point, but maybe I want to price mine at 2,500. But at least this gives sort of a number for context. So this is a little quick preview of what a dashboard looks like. There are lots of aspects here that are useful. And I think Mina's going to go into some of that in their next slide. But yeah, and this, of course, is the insights to see how the views go. This is our test version. This actually not online, hence the dip in views. But for an artist that is live on Partial, they'll see the tracker here to see how it works. Profile visits are visits to the artist page, and the impressions are the impressions for the artwork and the artist profile. So I'm going to stop there and then go back to our presentation. Lovely.
Great. So these are a few tips that will really help elevate your artist profile when setting it up. We believe that when people buy an original art piece, they're also choosing to invest in the artist, which is why it's really important to include as much information as possible in your profile. So starting off with an artist bio, I'm sure most of you have an artist bio written somewhere, but this will pretty much just give viewers an insight into your practice, inspiration, a little bit about who you are and how that informs your work. We recommend keeping it professional versus personal, or you could always do sort of a combination of the two. I also recommend keeping this as concise as possible. On your artist page, it'll be located at the top directly under your header. And so all of your artworks are listed below. And so if you have a really long artist bio, people will have to scroll down to actually see your artwork. So just keeping it as concise and impactful as possible is what I recommend doing. And if you ever need help with writing an artist bio or want some great examples, you could always just email me and I can help you out. So next up, we have your CV. So again, this is another thing that I'm sure most of you will have already on hand. What's great about Partial is on your artist profile, we have a column to the right of the page that kind of will just lay it out for you. And so you can just input your upcoming shows, past shows, press, accolades, all of that good stuff into a CV. We definitely recommend filling out this feature because some art buyers and collectors take this into account. And it's also just nice to see your experience and all your milestones. So next up, we have some insight into your practice, some BTS as well. People are generally interested in seeing your process and what goes into creating a work, and even your workspace. And for many folks, there's this sort of mystique about the work. And so just kind of giving a little bit of insight into what your process is like, sort of some behind the scenes shots, is really helpful and just gives context and insight into the value of your work. So yeah, that's something else to consider. And we do have a great section below where your artworks will live on your profile. That's an inside the studio section. So you can upload as many photos as you'd like in there of you working and your studio and all that fun stuff. Next up, Tammy already touched on this in the last slide, but good quality images of your work is so important. These are a few things to consider: having good lighting. So natural daylight is, I would say, always like the best option, and the easiest. So yeah, we also have resolution over here. So taking high res photos is really important. Most smartphones capture really high quality images. So if you have access to a smartphone, that shouldn't be an issue. And then also just including many different views of your artwork. If, let's say, you have a painting and it's super textured, you might want to do maybe some close-ups of that to really just show all of the different aspects of it that might get lost on a sort of 2D platform. So yeah, definitely take as many good quality images of your work as you can. And then lastly, we have clear pricing and description. So again, including as much information as you can in the description is really, really important. If the artwork is part of a series, what's the series called? Give a little bit about the series or the piece itself. And also include clear pricing. I also recommend having consistent pricing across the board if you're selling on multiple different platforms. So that's also something else to consider.
Yeah, and actually, Mina brought up a lot of good points, and it made me think about like myself whenever I have the chance to buy art. I feel like different art buyers and art collectors all have different reasons for choosing an art piece. There is so much choice out there. So like the things that resonate with me are like the artist story personally, the artist background. All those things make me choose their art piece over someone else's, even if aesthetically or visually I feel like they're on par. You never know what's going to tip one art collector to really connect with you more than another art piece or what have you. So yeah, sharing different nuggets are always helpful. Like we sometimes get people who email us asking specifically for artwork by art school grads or artwork by BIPOC artists, or wondering if, hey, do you happen to have any artists who have recently arrived from Colombia? Sometimes it's as specific as that because everyone has their own reason for wanting to invest in an artist. So yeah, the more you can share about your background, the better.
And here we have some really great artist profile examples. So I guess we can start with Cherie Hart. She's a painter. She makes these really fun, I guess you'll see. Cool. Yeah. So this is Cherie's page. She's got a great artist bio over here, as well as an updated CV, which is always really wonderful. And then down here is all of her work. As you can see, some of them are available for purchase and some are also available to rent. And then if we keep going down, you'll be able to see some of her inside the studio shots, which are always really fun to see. And then she's also filled out her little Q&A section, which I recommend all artists do. It's really fun to just kind of read. Some of these questions are related to, I guess, artwork and people's practice and things like that, but some of them are just fun. And so it's cool to read these and get to know a little more about the artist. But yeah, so that's Cherie. we've got a couple other examples as well. So here we have Michaela Dion. She's another painter. And yeah, as you can see, she's got all her work here. Love it. Oh, cool. Yeah. Here's one of her pieces, and you can see she's done a lot of close-up shots of it, as well as the full image, which is really helpful to see, and a side profile, which is great. Yeah. And some inside the studio shots and her Q&A, which is, yeah, awesome. And then we have Shlomi Amiga, who's a photographer. And again, here's all his work, which is great to scroll through and see. And yeah, he's got wonderful, just like front view shots, which will work great with the wall spacer feature. And yeah, these are all really great examples to take a look at if you need some examples to see while you're setting up your profile, or want to see others who have really filled it all out.
Okay, so a little bit about how it works. Folks can buy or rent art on Partial, and the rental models are there to first of all, to help benefit the art buyers, to make it easier to try out the piece actually in their space. It makes a big difference to actually see a painting in real life, much less like on screen, and then to actually see it in your space is something different. So for artists who are open to it, they are able to rent artwork on Partial for 3-month periods to private collectors. Of course, for the artist, the benefit is that while that art piece is out for rent, they are able to collect rental income for that art piece. So the idea is, like rather than have that art piece in your studio for 3 months, you're actually able to have it out there, have people enjoying it, and also be generating a bit of money month to month for that. As well, the main goal is, of course, to make it easier for folks to convert that art rental ultimately to a sale. So after 3 months, the art renter is able to choose whether they want to return the art piece to the artist, kind of, thank you, really loved it, but for whatever reason, it doesn't work in our space as we had imagined. That's okay. The artist has still generated income from it, and people have been able to enjoy it for that period of time. Or ideally, they will want to pay the difference to own the art piece. And actually 65% of our art rentals actually convert to art sales. So that's really good. And of course, the goal is to make it easier for everyone to invest in original artwork for the first time or for the 10th time. We also have trade access, which Mina mentioned earlier, and those are for realtors and stagers who can rent artwork for 1 month, a bit like this artist here, Nelson Cheng. This is a photo of his painting in an art staging in Toronto. Interior designers can also rent artwork for their projects, as well as film and TV for 1-week periods. And all of this comes with insurance, which is offered by Partial and covered, as well as sorting out all the legalese that is typically involved. So a really quick overview of how a booking process works on Partial. One of the tricky things with technology nowadays is trying to convert a conventionally human process into one that is technology and human. So how it works is, first, a client submits an artwork request to you, and you have the option as an artist to approve it or reject it. Upon approval, the art client can choose whether they want pickup for free or delivery. And with delivery, you then as an artist have the ability to add a delivery fee onto that. So when it comes to talking about delivery fees, even generally, It's really up to the artist and where the art buyer is located. So if you're shipping an art piece, which is not the majority of our transactions, very few actually are being shipped. But if you do that, of course, you want to think about the price of what it will cost you to take it to a courier or to the post office, the cost of your materials to pack your painting or your art piece, sculpture, drawing. And of course, I think I always want to push for artists to add on fees for their time, thinking about the amount of time it's going to take you and maybe adding on some money for that. If you are delivering in person, which is the majority of the transactions on Partial, you can take into account, of course, like the cost of gas, if you're going to be driving or having someone help you with the delivery, wrapping it. And I think it also varies depending on the art piece. So sometimes for folks who have sold an art piece on Partial, if it's an art piece that is of higher value to them, they will actually just include the delivery price in their fee as kind of like an act of goodwill, as customer service. It's really up to the artist. Or they may choose to add on a delivery fee, which is also perfectly acceptable. So it's really up to the artist and how they feel. The art client then over Partial is able to see the total that you've created, as well as including the insurance fee that we charge the art client. And then they will pay by credit card, at which point you can then proceed with fulfillment, which is the shipping of your art piece or the delivery or coordination of picking up of your art piece from you. We think that that kind of meeting, if it's ever possible, is always ideal for creating like a relationship between the art buyer and the artist, because you never know what might happen. Oftentimes folks who maybe rent or sell an art piece on Partial, once they meet the person and the art buyer meets them, they become kind of lifelong patrons of that artist, or they might be at their studio and see 3 more pieces that they really love, that after 2 weeks of thinking about it, they decide to then buy 3 more pieces from that painting, or rather from that artist. So there are a lot of benefits to meeting the art client whenever it's possible. Of course, it's not possible in all situations, but when it is possible, it's a great opportunity. And then, of course, once it has been delivered or shipped or picked up, the client will get a receipt and you will have a bill of sale for your own records, and you'll receive an e-transfer for the sale or the rental of your art piece. And that is the conclusion of our presentation. So before we get into questions, just want to say thanks for taking the time again, and we look forward to sharing your art.